Are you like me? Unimpressed with the off-road performance of your Colorado or Canyon? Do you find that your truck's not capable of taking you where you want to go? You deserve a suspension system that can keep up with your adventurous spirit. Off-roading can be a challenging and exciting adventure, but it can also be frustrating when your vehicle isn't up to the task. Bumpy ride, bottoming out, and poor handling can make it difficult to enjoy the trail. Your safety can even be at risk when you push your truck past its capability. Maybe you've tried other suspension kits in the past, like a subframe lift or body lift. Those only make the truck look taller, they don't improve performance. That's why we've developed the ultimate budget solution for your Colorado or Canyon. Using the stock H3 suspension components, along with a few parts we make, you can transform your otherwise boring truck into the ultimate off-roader. Say goodbye to bumpy rides, poor handling, and limited clearance, and hello to a smoother, safer, and more exciting off-road experience.
The H3 suspension was designed specifically with off-roading in mind, in that it's got more ground clearance and better handling than that of the Colorados. The H3 has cast steel lower arms and cast aluminum upper arms. The engineers designed it to be as strong as possible while saving weight. Something that's lacking on the Colorados that GM incorporated into the H3s was that the brake system is not captive on the H3s, whereas the Colorados, in order to change the rotors, you'd literally have to remove the wheel bearing just to get to them. Something else that's kind of cool on the H3s is the upper arm is all one piece, so that it's faster and cheaper to replace the entire upper arm than just the bushings or the ball joint separately. So we're going to take off and go do a couple tests for you guys, both off-road and on-road, a flex ramp and a 0 to 60 and all that fun stuff. So cut to that now. We're down here at Samco Fabrication, one of my buddy's shops, and we're going to test the articulation of the stock suspension first before we do the H3 swap. So Andrew's going to drive the truck up here on the ramp. We're going to see how far he gets and take a measurement, and then later in the week when we get back, when we get done with the H3 stuff, we're going to come back over here and test out the new suspension on the same ramp all over again and show you guys the difference. Now mind you, this is with the sway bar connected, so we're going to do it with both. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Almost there. Keep going. All right. 46 inches. All right, let's get these sway bar discos off. All right, take two. We're gonna do the ramp again with the sway bar off. Keep going. Keep going. All right. $51 inches. There we go. Way more flex.
We headed out to Moon Rocks to test my 3-inch lift kit that we put on a couple years ago. We wanted to compare the stability of the lift kit versus the H3 suspension swap. We wanted to test the ride quality between the kind of smoother trails as well as the more rockier trails. We also wanted to check the difference in the 373 stock versus the 456s in the H3 axle. Now, Andrew is tuned by PCM of NC, and I recommend them every time I get asked, but it still took him 14.9 seconds to reach 60 miles an hour.
Let's see if the new gearing improves this time. Yesterday you guys saw us do all of our pre-tests with the RTI ramp, the 0 to 60, the articulation, and just kind of off-roading clearance, stuff like that. Today we're going to start on the rear axle because we've got about a 1-day time commit for the drive shaft to be rebuilt, and I don't want to get hung up on that, preventing them from getting home later this week. So we're going to start on the rear axle and get after it. So we got the axle prepped. I busted one of the sway bar bolts, so we got that. I had to break out my welder and weld it out in there and tap it and all of that fun stuff. But we cleaned up the threads on these. This truck is an 07, so we don't have rear axle ABS, so we just cut the lines and we're gonna pry off the old clips and sensors and stuff because it's not gonna need to be a thing. That's just weight reduction. We got the distribution block pulled off. We got the lines broken without hurting the threads. And what we'll end up doing is bending them together to go back into the Colorado distribution block and bolt that back in the way it was. So it'll look nearly factory, but we'll have to get creative with these bends and try not to hurt this line at all. So we'll flip this thing around and get it under the truck, I guess. Look at that. I'm going to roll it forward. So, about there. What do you think? Okay. We got the axle slid in and lifted it up and then attached the leaves to the shackles back again, and all we gotta do now is set it in place and bolt down the H3 U-bolts, and we'll have a mostly attached H3 rear axle. Day 3, technically. Day 1 was intro, shooting, and testing. Day 2, we got the axle onto the truck, and we're a little bit behind schedule in that it's Wednesday, and there's a couple things that kind of had some issues and put us behind. So I wanted to show you guys those today before we start working on the truck and getting going. So as you guys can see, we don't have a drive shaft still in, and that was part of an issue that we were finding online with the measurements. A couple of guys have said that you need the drive shaft an inch shorter than the factory one, being that the 8-inch axle is a little bit smaller. You need the drive shaft shortened to accommodate the larger 8.5, 8.6 axle from the H3. Well, we think that the axle is actually moved backwards a half an inch due to the center pin location on the pad on the bottom of the axle, And with this truck being a little bit lifted, we were actually a 1/2 inch longer than what the Driveshaft shop recommended we need. So I think because we're actually in a little bit from where it was with the 8-inch axle on our lift, we're going to leave the Driveshaft where it is. We got the new U-joints pressed in. We're going to run down there today and pick it up and slap it in and test that. But I'm pretty sure at this point that we don't need a longer or shorter Driveshaft for this swap. Your mileage may vary. One thing we noticed with the H3 axle was that the breather is on the passenger side and the Colorado axle was on the driver's side. So the clip that used to hold it is way up here, and now the H3 one won't reach. So we needed to get a longer line. I've got some 3/8 hose laying around here. We're just going to hook it up to the breather and replace the cap and clip it back into the factory location so that we have everything working properly again. So we bolted up the H3 sway bar to the rear axle, and it looks like we're going to have to drop the spare tire in order to have this link clear the tire. But we've got an issue on the other side. We've got the exhaust pretty much running right where the link needs to be. So we are determining what we're going to do, but I think Anders okay with us cutting the exhaust pretty much right here, having it dump instead of right back there dumping. And we're going to figure out a way of mounting the rear sway bar to the back, and it might include my sway bar disconnects. Tell you what, dude, that is not bad at all. Well, we thought we had a day without snow, but now we got Dippin' Dots. And just getting the whoa! Loosen the easy up. This is what I call Dippin' Dots. This junk styrofoam snow, cloud seeding snow. Jerks. Quit seeding the clouds. So it's been 2 minutes. All my chickens ran into the yard, and we've got snow. Goodness. How you doing, man?
Just dandy.
Just dandy. Tight?
Yep.
Look at you go. So since we don't know the history on this axle and it's out, we might as well just throw some new fluid in there. So I got some F4 Decent, whatever the store brand was, Master Pro 7590, and we're gonna fill her up. There's one. In my closet, you'll see the diff rings. On the end of some of them, there'll be little brown Sharpie marks. I need one of those and 5 of the screws that are in that bin. Just let me figure out which side you need to paint. And just gonna get his Bob Ross on while we do the drive shaft. He's painting my rear diff ring. While we're down here, we're just going to knock out my diff ring. Super easy install. Should take you longer to watch this part than actually install the thing. Take the bottom 5 bolts out. don't need to drain it. If you guys watched this 10 seconds ago in the video, we just filled this up with fluid. Differing. Got them in, 13 mil. Get yours today at badlandindustries.com. Get this guy fished in here. Go over the cross member. Set you into place. Let's see where we're at here. I'm sitting here under the gas tank because it's freaking snowing. The Driveshaft shop gave us a U-joint that had snap rings on it, and because these yokes got ears on the end, we don't need that. But this is the factory four-wheel drive shaft on the V8 or H3 rear axle, and it's got the adequate amount of slip out of the T-case that the shop was wanting. So we don't even have to lengthen it, which is kind of nice. So that saved us a little bit of money, but we did spend the money on getting new U-joints put in. So if it's out, you might as well fix it, get it replaced, and get it upgraded, because it's a pain to do this later on. So just do it while it's out. And once I get this U-joint strap tightened up, we're going to move on to the e-brakes, because that's pretty much the last thing that we need to do with this rear axle. And I think we found a pretty trick way of making that express van line work, even though it was about an inch longer. So when I get this tight, we'll do that. One of the points of contingency that we needed to figure out when trying to figure out if this axle swap was even possible was the parking brake system. The lines for the H3 SUV are shorter than the Crew Cab Colorado, and the H3T lines are quite a bit longer. So we needed to figure out what's available, what's out there, and what is it going to take to adapt those lines to this truck. I settled on the passenger side H3T lines, which are still available. The driver side lines aren't. So I found the express van lines to be the same length as the Crew Cab Colorado, and it also had the same ends as the H3. So let's get a little closer and I'll show you guys what I found. So these are the H3 ends to pull on the now lever for the disc brakes, and they clip in yonder. The front Colorado ones look like this, and they slip into that little barrel under the driver door. Well, the problem is these ones have a completely different end, and if you guys can see that, that's not the same at all. So I've designed the spacer effectively last night, and it's printing right now to adapt one to the other and make the new lines fit the truck. So what I want to do is actually try and retain the Colorado brackets, just because like this one here is actually the express van line. So I don't know if this is going to be where it needs to be on the Colorado. So we're going to try and hopefully use these in a location where they go, or what we'll do is we'll probably try and adapt, unbend these brackets and adapt these brackets on this line to fit the truck. So we're legitimately figuring this out live for you guys, so that this can be kind of immortalized on YouTube, so that if you guys ever wanted to do this, we've figured it out for you. So this is the express van line, and it starts back here, and it's got to clip into this clip here. We've gone outside the frame and over to the front here. As you guys can see, it is right where it needs to be. So that tells me the Ford Express van line that I'll have a link below to, is the exact perfect line we need to do the driver's side of this swap for a crew cab. So we're gonna go to the passenger side now and route that line over here and see if we can get that one to fit just as good. We got the driver's side line hooked up. It's outside the frame, partially because it fits and partially because the axle's just freaking wider. So we've got a nice little spot here to figure out a way of drilling a hole so that we've got the bracket to mount to right here, so it'll fit through its travel. It's going over the frame, over the exhaust and the drive shaft. So I've got it coming over the gas tank here, and then it tucks in just in front of the body mount here and clips in. So I need to go to the 3D printer and see if that print's done, so we can put the pieces up here and attach our e-brake lines. In place here. Go this way first. Clip. And this line is gonna fit here. There we go. That works. We haven't bolted it in just yet, but we'll get the passenger side hooked up and then we'll check the front attachment here. That's the express clipping into the H3 bracket. That works. So I made these little spacers to clamp around the clips here so they are removable later on. I did a one-piece design and I felt bad about not being able to take it apart. So get that clipped in. It gets threaded through the hole and slides into place, just like I designed it. This is literally the first time I'm sliding these parts into place, so just like that. The ends are pretty much identical. All we got to do is put them in the balance bar here. We got a little bit of room to suck it up, and yeah, we can just tighten that bolt there, and that should freaking work. And the express van's like an inch longer, so I'll have to take that slack up a little bit. How do you think we do that? Do we just make that spacer an inch longer?
A little longer.
We got the e-brake cables in, and with the ferrules the way they are, we had to run the screw way out to the end. There's only another half an inch of threads left, so it fits, it works, it stops the truck, but pedal's a little bit weak, so we thought let's do some more ferrules back farther, and it should be pretty easy to do. I got a new crimper to crimp the ferrules on the truck, so we'll do that now, but I want to get a better pedal, and we thought this was the most simplest way to do it. So your mileage may vary. Just be mindful of where this this cable ends up, or that the ends of this cable end up. So with this balance bar backed out pretty much all the way, we're kind of even with this hole. So I'm gonna kind of hold up the cable and see, got about 2 inches off of this, and I think we'll be good enough to cut it off and reinstall a little ferrule here. So I've got the vinyl wrapped cable here, got it cut off, and we just need to get the ferrule on here. I just tested it on the other one before I turned the camera on, so we know it works. Let's be honest, I just didn't hit record. I feel like Casey Liddell. Never said I was good at this. This is just a little wire crimper from Harbor Freight, but I'm sure there's 8,000 of these things on Amazon. If I can find a link for one, I'll put it in the link below in the description. Yeah. Not bad. Nice and even. Balance bar in place. The middle one there.
Oh, it's so much better.
Well, I didn't get them perfectly aligned, but that's what that balance bar is for. So I guess we'll hop inside and test the pedal. Oh, a little tighter. Feels like it needs to be a little tighter. Okay. Get your lube right there, I guess. Whatever. That's on YouTube forever. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We were smart and bought one extra ferrule. I'm gonna fix this one by cutting this lower cable back and just scooting it back just a little bit. But that pedal feel feels way better. So knock this off, throw a new ferrule on there, and we'll get e-brakes. We got the brackets just in front of the rear fender liners to install, and other than that, e-brakes are done. Alright, well, I'm gonna try out my new toy. My Badland, not sponsored, Badland. But you know, Harbor Freight, if you guys want to sponsor Badland Industries with your Badland stuff, I'm not gonna say no. Well, we're running out of daylight and we want to flip the truck around and start on the front because today is the end of Wednesday and we need to be done with the front tomorrow. So I figured I'd test out my new toy, get this thing lifted up and set back down on the tires, and so we can flip the truck around. So let's see how this axle fits and works, and the jack and all the things. Four-wheeling all over the boat. Well, it's doing jacking things. That's a plus, right?
About the same ride height.
Yeah, we haven't changed the ride height at all. Damn, boy!
And everything.
Whew! That's freaking wide. Yeah, that's also something we've been dealing with all day long.
Dude, this thing's like a little wider.
I'm gonna roll it down the driveway. Well, we got the chuck still in it, so it's okay.
Yeah, and I'm in gear, or I'm in park.
Well, that's not
Oh,
gonna
that's
help
all-
us if
that's all
that
in the
tire
rear,
comes
yeah.
off the ground.
That's true.
It's just trying.
This thing takes a while. It doesn't really pump very much per pump.
We're close to rolling.
Holy shit, in front.
Alright, we're off the ground.
Yeah.
So that rear sway is doing work, huh? This is with the rear sway bar connected. You guys can see right through there. This is full flex, at least on the rear. That tire right there is fully off the ground. So that rear sway bar is actually putting in some work right now. But we have about 4.5 inches right here to the fender, and we've got about 4.25 to the bump stop. So we need to figure out a way of probably doing a 1-inch spacer on the bump stop to prevent tire meeting fender. We might have some more that we gotta bleed out. Yeah, we're gonna have to do it 2 or 3 times anyway, so we'll do it. Back up. Wow. Does it at least stop though? So they're there, they're just not. We didn't get all of it.